Hello, this is Crystal. Welcome. There will be an extended version of this communication, a link below if you're interested. You are a creator. You are able to manifest and receive all of your desires, all of your dreams, anything anything goes. And you know what gets in your way is you don't believe it. You need to believe it. And you know what gets in the way of you not believing it is life experience. When we're in the midst of a problem, when we're in the midst of an experience that is challenging us, whether it's a relationship or a situation, event, or any other thing that you would define as challenging, it is difficult or almost it feels almost impossible to feel positive and to understand that you're connected to all that is and that you can create and that you created the circumstance. You co-created the experience. We don't like to hear that. And the way that we co-created that experience is through our thoughts, our subconscious mind. hmm And that's one of the most difficult things that we experience in our life experience, especially those of us who are aware of ourselves and are doing this spiritual work, healed ourselves physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and anything else that you need to fit in there. You're on that path of personal development, spiritual growth, healing your body, paying attention to what food you're eating. Are you drinking clean water if it's possible for you to do these things? Your living environment, how energy impacts you. You're doing a lot of this work and there's so much more to learn. You know a lot, but there's so much more to learn and that's life. So when you're in the middle of that experience, that's the beauty of it is you're growing anyway. There's light there. It's not that the light's not there. It's not that everything's turned off and not working. It's that you are healing something to understand yourself better, to move through something that has been inhibiting you in some way. And only you will know what that is. And I really feel this, and Spirit is coming through me to say, just tune in to Spirit. Whatever your definition is, if you have a spirit team or spirit guides or God directly or any of the ascended masters, work with them, ask for help right now. You don't need to suffer. Suffering is a part of life and you will grow from it. You will. You will. I believe this. But we have to get to that space of understanding and maintaining faith. I think the beautiful part of this journey is when you eventually walk through these experiences, these challenges, the dark night of the soul. I've been in one. And I don't think there's just one for some of us. I think there's multiple dark night of the soul experiences. They're layered because we're such magnanimous. Is that the word? Magnificent, I'll say. Magnanimous. That doesn't sound right, so I'll say magnificent beings with a great deal, a huge vessel of our eternal soul carries so much information that our dark night of the soul is there's steps to it with some of us. For some of us it's just one experience, sometimes over years, and for others it's like a block of time where you're in a very dark space and you're just feeling very isolated and it's like nothing's going right and you get to your rock bottom of whatever that is, and then you start to what? You start to you surrendered. The light comes in. You become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of that experience and why you have that experience. You go from victim to empowered. and so on and so forth. You become stronger in your faith. And you wouldn't be there if you didn't go through that experience. So for many of us, we're just like, I'm done. And I remember one of my teachers and mentors saying to me, you are so full of light, and I can see you, and you're shining. And I remember where you were, but understand that this is like an onion. And I got so upset at that. It's like, you know, peeling the layers of an onion, you're not finished. The more you learn, the more you know you don't know. The more you release, the more you know maybe something else is coming up. And I resisted that. I didn't want to hear that. And that's the truth of my experience. And I'm not saying it's the truth of your experience, but I think that's spiritual growth, is walking through these adversive experiences, enrich your soul, give you depth. Sometimes you say, I don't wish that upon my worst enemy to go through that, but I'm glad I went through it. I don't want to go through it again. Just be clear, universe, God, you know, let there not be any repeats. Sometimes there's a repeat. Sometimes there's a repeat if there's strings, if you didn't get it all, if you weren't honest with yourself. Because really in this pot of healing, I'm not going to say the G word. In this pot of healing, we get in our own way. It's not like there's a higher spirit saying, you have to do it this way or that way. This is the way you're supposed to do it. There's guidance, certainly. There's spiritual texts, there's religious texts, there's all of that. There's guidance, but ultimately it still ends up on your own shoulders. So if you're experiencing something, and if it's a relationship, because it's generally a relationship to something or someone or an experience or an environment, and you're like, it's over there, it's outside of me, it's external, and you're stay in that space. Some of us stay in it for a long time, depending on what it is, and eventually you realize, I have to detach from this. This no longer has any power over me, and then you start to feel the change. Then it's illuminated, especially if you ask why you experience that, how sometimes you don't get the whys. And eventually you make peace with that. It's like, you know what? I don't even need to know what this is that I'm releasing. I'm glad it's gone. I know it's not coming back, and now I'm going to do this. And that's peace too. That's a peaceful space. The ego really is attached to, our egos are attached to the why. Like, why this? Why did this happen? Why is it happening to me? Why? And the more you say that, the more you go down into a victim space. And you can't heal from that space. You're not going to heal. All you're going to do is attract more of that victim experience. See, so let's say, for example, if you have a certain belief, and this is exactly where we are in my country, with a lot of things, and there's a lot of us who are highly educated, very smart people, psychic, clairvoyant, spiritually aware, and all of that, who understand the fundamentals of healing. If you don't heal the wound, you're just layering and building a foundation on top of the wound, and eventually you have to contend with it. It'll be infected, or it'll be unsightly, it'll be painful until you address it and take care of it. You'll feel that pain, and it'll just come back to it over and over again if you're so lucky. Sometimes you expire, like it'll take you out, that wound, if you don't address it. Sepsis and things like that. Well, let me not speak about those things, because I don't think that's what that is. Let's just say an infection that you have control over. We'll put it that way, because I think that's something that you don't have control over eventually, completely. but you get the point. But it is kind of a sepsis, what we're dealing with. So we have a long history of discrimination, harming others, genocide, all these things that we bounce around and don't deal with. And we have everybody that you can imagine on the planet in this country. Um, Millions of opinions. There's 400 million people, different regions that have a different culture. Each state has a different culture. Within the state, you have cities and rural areas and suburban areas that have their own cultures, and counties that have their own cultures, all these subcultures and cultures and regions. It's a plethora of opinions and experiences and shadow and light. And built upon this foundation, this very shaky foundation of lies and blood and sweat of human beings and living things, and get into the conversation of acquiring land and all that kind of stuff. It's like very layered, and people have different feelings and opinions and emotions about history. That's all in the pot. That's all in this pot. So, those of us who are healers are contending with not only our own healing process, but we are, because we are aware of this energy, we can feel it in our bodies. We have to take precautions, and we have to make sure we're protected, and we wear our healing talismans and things like that, go through our processes, our practices, which help us and help lift the planet up as well. It's a lot of information, so I don't want to get off track. But essentially, what I'm saying is, we understand that when you have a wound, you're healing it. You're healing. So your experience right now is feeling. If you're feeling out of your body a lot, if you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like there's no hope, and you're not as enthusiastic or creative or successful as you've been in the past, I'm here to validate that that's not you. That is this energy. If you're in, you can hear my accent, so you know what country I'm in. If you're in this country, you're living here and you're a healer, you're contending with this energy that is surfacing. We're in the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is a truth bringer. So trust me, have faith that this is coming to the surface for healing, because it is healing and transmutation. Look at the positive of this. And for anyone who's hearing this for the first time, you might go into resistance. It came to the surface because it needed to heal. It's pus. It needs to heal. It's pus. It's lies. It's hurting others. Some of the things that have been happening, we couldn't even conceive of doing them because we're healers. We couldn't even, it wouldn't even cross our minds. So when you are seeing that news, or you don't even have to watch the news, you have to practice discernment. You feel like something's off, something's going to happen. And you just kind of tune into that. And the spirit's like, I really want you to know this. Tune in. And you're like, okay, that's what that feeling was. Well, that's compounding your own journey right now, because it's a heavy energy. You've done a lot of work already. You've done a lot of healing work. You understand how to heal yourself, and you're having this journey. But I'm just saying, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, because and oh my goodness, be aware of yourself, because the more you do that, then the more you can see, oh, that's not me. I'm not sad today. I'm sad about what's going on in the world today, but that's not my energy, because it's so heavy right now that it's like it's suffocating. If you don't, and it's every day, and if you don't practice some type of spiritual grounding, please incorporate that, whether it's listening to music or going through an actual meditation practice. Well, I shouldn't say that. Listening to music is also meditating. Whatever it is that grounds you in onto this earth, practice that on a daily basis, and that will help you with not absorbing this energy. It's heavy. So, when I'm saying that, so there's two parts of this communication. It was the first part where it was talking about intentional creation and healing, and how sometimes it's tough to go through these experiences and be positive, but that is the way out. So if you keep hyper focusing on what you don't want to experience, how mad you are, how upset you are, how frustrated you are with everything, you will continue to experience that, because let me read you this. You are what you think. What you think, you create. What you create, you become. What you become, you express. What you express, you experience. What you experience, you are. I wrote this a long time ago, and I found it in a journal recently. And then I put it on my fridge. You'll have to zoom. I don't have my glasses on because make sure it's focused for you. Yeah, that's the hard, cold truth. You are what you think. So, my country is what it thinks. Collectively, we're all these powerful beings, whether we're in a high soul vibration or not. Whatever we're thinking, we're manifesting and creating. So if you have a belief about something, you will continue to see it manifesting. And then you say, what? See, I told you so. That's told you so. And then you have a million people thinking that same thought about whatever it is. It's a powerful space. They will create that. That's called the collective unconscious. So we have the collective. We have the collective consciousness and the collective unconsciousness, shadow and light. And healers also have unconscious, collective unconscious. So the more we heal, the more we're adding to the collective consciousness, which is eventually going to rise above the collective unconsciousness. In my country right now, the collective unconsciousness is higher than the collective consciousness. But it doesn't mean that the collective consciousness is not there. If you keep believing the rhetoric and even if you don't believe it, if you keep listening to it, or you're around it, or you have an opinion about it, you are adding to the collective unconsciousness. When you focus on your own path, healing yourself, very selfishly, yes, healing yourself, tapping into spirit, listening for your communications, practicing discernment, taking care of your physical body, your emotional health, your physical health. I already said that. Emotional, spiritual, all of it and more, whatever resonates with you. The more you heal yourself and are not in judgment of others, even the people, it's hard not to be. I do know that. I get it. I understand. But the more you're in judgment, you're a very powerful being who I'm talking to right now. Hello. You're very powerful. So your thoughts carry weight in your own life and what's happening in the world right now. You're not responsible for it. But I'm saying, if you are paying attention to like chatter that you don't believe in, it's still going to affect your collective unconsciousness and your own orbit. The more you stay focused on your light, on your truth, on what you're doing, the more it'll lift up the collective consciousness. That's how it works.